least I got a CD player to go with my amp, you know?
Oh, you're
Yeah,
Wow.
you want to just play that?
Welcome to 2025, a CD player.
Okay.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, that's good quality.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey people, we're starting off 2025 with Yacht Rock, baby.
Happy New Year, everyone. Oh, my God.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Oh boy, takes me back.
Where's my lighter? Where's my lighter?
Right.
All right. Woohoo! Were you feeling the
There
love
you go.
there?
Way
Yeah.
to bring it in. Way to bring it in.
Yeah.
We brought it in with Seals and Crofts, you know. I pulled out all my old CDs, you know. Seals and
Those still
Crofts,
exist?
greatest hits.
Good
You know,
case.
Ryan is going, what the hell is this music? How could they have greatest hits? I've never even heard of them. How do they even have a hit?
You know what's hot right now, Rob, is also cassette tapes. So I was in a record store the other day, and
Yeah,
they
it's
have a
coming
whole.
back.
That's like a hot thing now. I don't know if you've seen the movie Perfect Days. It's a great movie, and
my
he has a
God.
cassette deck in his. It's an older guy who cleans toilets in Tokyo, and it's kind of this very like.
I love that.
Goes through his life, and he has a tape deck in his car, and these young people who he befriends kind of discovers these cassettes, pre-recorded cassettes. You know, it's like this thing.
Yeah,
People-
Well,
Whenever
You know
you young folks hear the word mixtape, that's what we're talking
yeah.
about.
That's
yeah.
right.
Oh, my God. What the hell?
I know.
How do you guys have all this crap in your...
Got loads of crap.
Yeah.
I think we discussed that in one of the shows. I'm actually buying back DVDs and CDs and LPs because I'm sick and tired of those streaming services deciding where I can stream things or not. And you don't own the music anymore. So I was, for the New Year's Day, usually I do a little bit of mix on my mixer. And every year the same thing happened. I fire the thing, it's a tractor, it's connected to Apple Music, and half of the songs I can't use because there's some kind of digital rights management.
Or it disappears from the catalog.
Yeah, it's you want to see.
Yes, that's right. I hate that. You know, it's no bueno.
Yeah.
So the cassette thing.
Right. And go ahead. Go ahead about the cassette. I want to hear it.
I don't have. I just noticed. Pete saw cassettes. I went to the Sub Pop store at the Seattle SeaTac Airport, and they do have a whole section of cassettes. You know, where you can get Pearl Jam on cassette. You know, or something like that. So I would love to have a tape deck. You know, with Dolby C or PDX.
Hit your local Goodwill. It's the best place to buy a tape deck these days. The local Goodwill.
Yeah. You know, when you look at old retro audio gear from the golden age of hi-fi, like the 70s and early 80s, it's hard to find tape decks because they have a lot of moving parts and they wear down, unlike an amp or a tuner or something, you know, that it's solid state. So,
True.
Well, this guy is a modern version of it, and it's actually pretty cool in quality. And it's all brand new. So
See that.
I sent.
Oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's kind
Does
of
it
a
have a
modern
USB out? Because it'd be cool to rip the tape.
No, it's not a USB out. It's just a player. So it is
pretty big.
inside. But it's
pretty
it's
chunky.
a little bigger than the original Walkman. But it's pretty good.
How'd that
quality.
happen?
Yeah, really.
can you
Yeah,
plug
that
it
tech
into
is supposed to
the?
get smaller.
Can you plug it into your stereo?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
your-
there's a regular simple line
Audio.
audio
Okay.
out and a little switch. And the only difference is that it just uses an internal battery. It doesn't use, the rechargeable battery. But it's
Does it have optical audio out? Can I do
Yeah.
optical?
no, it's there's no digital. It's a pure analog thing.
Oh.
So, hey, guys, we got to usher in the show in the new
Okay,
year.
let's keep
yes. So, key theme for 2025 is obviously it is the year of analog, which is actually apropos because guess what? The next frontier of AI computing is actually analog, it's not digital. So that's kind of that's cool how we've landed we're kicking things off with this topic, but
it's about the real world. It's about the real
welcome
world.
to IoT Coffee Talk. Just disclaimer, take us seriously at your own risk. Remember that if you do something stupid based on what we've said on any of our episodes,
It's on you.
present and past and future, it's your own fault. Own
Inferred
it.
or explicitly stated.
Yeah. Point the finger at yourself and deal with it.
Entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
Right,
And
we're just entertainers here.
yes.
A big entertainment value, though.
Yeah.
longest disclaimer ever. But yes, it's a group thing. We're collaborators. You know, we just work like that. But remember, tax season. All right. Charity reduces your taxes. So yes, if Christmas didn't do for you, okay, if Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all these holidays that happen in the quote unquote giving season didn't move you to donate to elevate our kids, then just pick up a t-shirt. And we have hoodies. Just go to the Elevate Our Kids website at www.elevateourkids.org and pick up some IoT Coffee Talk merch. All proceeds go fully to the charity. And also consider making a very, very large donation and help kids K through 12 participate in our digital and apparently analog future of incredible AI, especially the generative stuff. And they will thank you for it, especially the kids in Asheville who are in communities that have been put under distress, if not just tragedy, due to Hurricane Helene. And so, yes, remember, it's a tax deduction.
They need your help.
They feel good.
It's hoodie
You don't want to
season,
feel
so
good, you will look good. Or you can
You know who's helping them?
Who?
Amish people.
What? How?
Have
Really?
you been watching the news? Amish people have been building little tiny houses for the folks in Asheville.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's really
And
cool.
That's cool.
And to stir the pot, the U.S. government's telling them, stop doing that. And they're like, well, no one's helping them, so we're going to keep building these houses.
Speaking
Wow.
of analog,
Yeah.
speaking of analog, that's
Amish is as
Amish
analog
AI.
as it gets.
That's
Being analog, yeah.
that's pretty analog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah, and also we're doing this in partnership with T-Mobile, so that's something else to remember as part of their project 10 million. So connectivity and devices. So anyway,
There you go.
So Leonard, if 2025 is the year of analog, though, as we transition, are we going to need a digital to analog converter, a DAC?
oh yeah. Yes, that's the ironic thing, isn't
There
it?
you go.
We even need a digital to quantum converter, right?
Okay,
At the
true.
moment.
Or analog to quantum. Even.
Well,
Analog to quantum. Why not?
A2Q, the A2Q.
if you
love
stretch the concept a little bit, this is fundamentally what we're trying to do with GenAI and agents. We're trying to get the digital world and make it, analog friendly with humans. So it's already on its way. It's already.
Ooh.
You had to bring up Agentic AI, didn't you? You're going to trigger
Yeah,
Debbie.
yeah, but
It's-
by the way, what's the big deal about all this agentic AI thing? Because I haven't started to look into it, but apparently Gen AI is done. Now it's all agentic. So can you guys explain that to me?
I thought
Debbie?
Every day.
I thought the example someone used was like you can ask ChatGPT to do a report, but you can program an agent to automatically run that report and do it like autonomously. I think that's the way it was explained to me.
Oh, so
Well,
it's cron on
Could
top.
be completely wrong though. I'm not saying this person was right. Fact
Yeah.
checked me. I mean, Anyone
It's
else?
like imagine Agentic AI is like a travel agent. You say like instead of searching for flights, when you just say like book me some. I have this trip to Austin, February 25th to 27th, by the way, which is where the Edge AI Foundation event is happening in Austin. So be there. But if you were to use Agentic AI, you could say get me there and get me some nice accommodations, and it would go around and use your credit card on all these different sites, perfectly safe. And buy you an Airbnb and tickets and all this stuff and reservations at your favorite restaurants and all that good stuff. And that
I
would be a
love
good
that,
agentic scenario.
Pete sounds like every CEO doing his keynote this last year.
That's
when
right.
They talk
Coming
about
to
how
you in
they're
2040.
while they're all in to agentic AI.
We're all in, man.
I've even been watching football, and I've seen 1,000 Salesforce.com ads with Matthew McConaughey sitting in the rain, and they're talking about Agent Force, and he talks just like you did. The agent would have booked my restaurant, and not in the rain.
Picked up my Lincoln Continental, and
here's what I want to tell all you kids out there. This is your Uncle Robbie here. Listen up, kids. There are no agents deployed anywhere right now. There's a lot of people talking about agentic AI as if they already have it and have built it and it's deployed. It's not. They're just talking, bumping their stock price. So it's not real yet. There's lots of description. Pete did a great description. So how do you build that thing that he just described? We got to build it first. But a lot of people are talking out ahead of the innovation, whatever.
Well, Go ahead, Debbie.
My thing is, we have technology out right now that's not identical to anything that doesn't work.
Right.
So why don't we fix that before we, let's say you call into any company and you get this automated message saying, you want this, press 1, you want this, press 2, you want this, press 3. And the thing that you want is never those 3 things, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, agent, other, right? So I feel like we're really jumping the gun here where the things that we have, the way that we're using technology now isn't really working as well as it should work. And so we're really leaping way far in the future.
Sure.
It's like, if we can't get this basic stuff right, we aren't going to be able to achieve all this other stuff.
That's true, but that's
because
you're talking about someone
on
on the buy side on that. Like, so on the sell side, they've already sold you that thing, so now they need.
Yeah, that's the thing. The very fundamental is that actually it's better to sell you more things that doesn't work. Trying to fix them doesn't sell more. But you say, it doesn't work. Buy this agentic AI.
It is a competitive opportunity for someone to come in there and say, rip out all your old stuff that doesn't work and use this new stuff. So I think Debbie has a good point there.
This stuff isn't really. Yeah.
Is that like vaporware when we used to tell people that we could do all this stuff?
Vaporware.
Vaporware. Coming in the next version. If you buy this version, you'll get it in the next version.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's
the worst.
This is like RPA. You remember all the RPA stuff?
Robotic process automation. That was big early COVID, wasn't it? RPA was
and then
all the rage.
Yeah, but then a lot of these frameworks already exist. You have like sort of this chatbot stuff that's now converging with the RPA feature. So you're creating that kind of closed loop of semi-intelligence or intelligent, quote unquote, intelligence and control. And you're creating these API libraries where now the agent or the intelligent thingy can now access stuff in the real world or institute transactions, which is actually pretty scary given how these things hallucinate like crazy. And Debbie, like what we were talking about, when we've talked about it here on IoT Coffee Talk, you scale out a small percentage, it could even be 1% at a massive scale, like what you can do with networked or these collaborative AIs, that you're going to create a problem so large that it's going to take a ton of humans to fix it. And if this persistently happens, it's just like snowballs, right? So sometimes being able to do stuff slow is better than doing things fast and poorly, right? And you know, I don't think people have grasped that. And then if you don't have that control and filter instituted in the entire system, well, all the errors just compound, right? I mean, it's
so.
Well, I mean, you're creating new problems, right?
Yeah,
so you're
on top of problems. Like,
you already have problems, but now you're creating new problems that you didn't have before. That someone is going to be very expensive to fix.
At a speed that nobody can, you know, people can't remediate. And that's the thing. Our job in the future may be to clean up the mess constantly. Plumbers, right, Rob?
Yeah.
Cleaning crap up is going to be, we're all going to become janitors.
So could a new tagline for a high-tech company be like, we create new problems at the speed of thought? Or whatever.
Faster. No, Rob, faster than the speed of thought. Because it's AI driven. There we go. You got the messaging guy. Faster than the speed of thought because it's powered by AI.
We'll create new problems that you didn't even have yet for you. And then we'll solve them, and you'll pay us for it and think that we did something good for you.
Yeah, but you forgot something, though. Oh. Remember, at scale.
At scale.
It always has to be at scale.
I think when you're saying that, Leonard, I'm thinking in a manufacturing environment, how fast that would go wrong, right? You're building a product, right? And imagine if you're just messing up all the set points on the machine for the first station in the process, how catastrophic that's going to be down the line. You break one little thing and people are like, why isn't AI in manufacturing more? And it's like, because of this. Like if you have, you know, if you have a Salesforce implementation that might dump the contact info into the wrong, you know, CRM contact, that's fixable. No one's going to die, right? But you put the wrong machine set points in a manufacturing facility, robots start crashing, you know, products.
That's where we're probably going to see a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, but that's where you're probably going to see a lot of this stuff on the consumer first, right? Is like everything to get it right before anyone from in the industrial world is going to take a bet on it.
And that's the biggest danger. I mean, Leonard just reminded us, but we discussed that I think a few months ago. Is as soon as we start letting those so-called intelligent digital thing have a clear action ability in the physical world, which actually it's an interesting reflection about digital twins, because, you know, there were digital artifacts and now they are coming back, becoming intelligent, and we're going to reconnect them into the real world. So you have a digital copy of yourself, which is not yourself anymore, doing things on your behalf. So it's, that's, to me, that's the biggest danger, because when we do that at scale, I mean, it's Skynet, you know, it's the visionary of the idea is that as you have a digital entity that is non-controllable and it's connected to the physical world. Where do you put?
I mean, we're already having problems managing and controlling our identities already. So now we're going to create agents supposed to do stuff for us. I mean, it's like a honeypot for.
But then you can create an agent to monitor the security of your identity.
Yeah, you have agents on agents. Now we're agent stacking. We're going down the agent hole. The agent rabbit hole.
It's like LifeLock Agentic AI or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. So basically, a cyber criminal, they don't have to break into your information. They just go get the agent and then make the agent do, you know, use your credit card for buy them plane tickets someplace. You know what I mean?
This is very profound what you're saying, Debbie, because I've been claiming, I work for identity companies. I've been working that for 3 years now. And I've been advocating that we are going to have to put identities to the digital things that we expect to do things for us, because otherwise, how are we going to be able to do traceability and transparency about that?
Oh yeah. And extremely important. So I'm gonna coin a new term, IoT Coffee Talk term. It's called the detrimental flywheel of stupidity. So when you get these, I mean, one of the things that is the most shocking that I am probably one of the most irresponsible things that a tech leader can ever say is that you're going to put 1 billion of these things out there and then have them interact on your behalf. That is like the scariest thought. And it's so devoid of, you know, acknowledging the experimental state of the technology. I'm sorry, guys, it's experimental still. You want proof? Just go to Google and do a search and look at the, what do they call that crap? The Gemini overview. on the bottom it says generative AI is experimental, not even R&D, not beta. It's friggin' experimental. I mean, don't take it from me, take it from Google.
Right.
But you're gonna put
I want to see Ryan take this experimental stuff at scale, problem agents, go to Toyota City in Japan and deploy it in the assembly line at the world's largest auto manufacturer and create a whole bunch of new cars with problem agent AI and see what happens.
Everyone's going to be pulling the
bullet train network
andon cord. They're going to be pulling the andon cord the whole time. Be like, something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Yes, Kaizen.
Pull the rope. The Kaizen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you simply don't say stuff like that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like when I was at reInvent, there was a gentleman, they brought him up on stage to talk about quantum computing. The dude just like sat up there and said, "Chill out, people. This is research." He did an extremely responsible thing by getting up on the stage in front of a bunch of analysts who were wondering, why the hell is this guy up here? And that was actually like a lot of the commentary is like, why is he up here downplaying the near-term prospects of quantum computing? And I told some of my analyst colleagues, they're like, no, he did the responsible thing. You know that IBM did this 5 years ago when they introduced, the Q whatever one, that machine at CES 2019, I think. They had like anti-evangelists basically saying, are you interested in this? Oh, by the way, this is experimental, so don't get your hopes up too high. Literally put people on the floor to do that. I thought that was a super responsible thing. So this guy gets up there. But then for these tech leaders to get up on stage and make claims about a technology that it hasn't been proven to do what they claim, and then suggest doing something, irresponsible, which is put 1 billion of these things out there and let them run your business. I mean,
have any of you guys seen,
scary?
Have any of you guys seen any analysts like put out forecasts for like the next year, saying that quantum is going to generate like 8 billion in revenue or something like that?
Oh no!
Where's the hardware? Where's the hardware?
Quantum washing. It's quantum washing.
Quantum washing.
Where's the hardware they're hosting all these solutions on? Is what I want to know. I've seen it. Go ahead, Debbie. Sorry.
I still think, to me, this is one of the first major waves of technology, push that I've seen where basically they're saying, we're going to profit because we're going to sell you this thing, but whatever you do with it is your problem, right? And so, I mean, the way that it's being sold is very devoid of responsibility from the people who are selling it. And, think back to cars and like why we have lemon laws, right? Where let me sell you a piece of junk, and then we don't care that it doesn't work or we didn't do it the right way, right? And so, I mean, that's what we're doing. They're selling lemons. And they're like, well, it's on you that what you're going to do. And so, I feel it is a bad place to be in, especially if you're the person who has to really try to implement this or talk to people about it, because that's where the rubber really meets the road. I mean, it's scary because I've heard CEOs of like big companies talking about how they're going to throw everything that they're doing into a Gen AI blender and everything is going to magically, come out like a diamond in the end without them, the cost and the pain and the hassle of using humans. Yeah. And it's like, that's not real. That's not true.
But in the platform business, I mean, I saw an interesting throwback, ad from like a PC or a computer from like 1980. Even back then, a platform is like, no, they said, when you get this computer and you get it home and you turn it on, it's not going to do anything. Like you have to put software into it, you have to do stuff and that's always been the case for platforms, right? And so I'm okay with people going out there and saying, we have a platform, you can do what you want with it, and here's what's possible. I think that's always going to be the case, right? Unless it's a completely packaged solution. So we need platforms. We need open platforms that give us freedom to do things. Just like those original PCs, and you got it home, you powered it up, you spent $2,000 on it, didn't do anything until you actually wrote some software. For
We
it, so.
we need platforms with good documentation. Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as
Talk to
you
the chat
force
bot.
me, if it's not intuitive enough for me to do it on my own with documentation and guide videos, it's never going to work out.
Yeah.
There's
There you
nothing
go.
worse than an overcomplicated platform. You have to hire and pay people hundreds of consulting
Oh,
hours
yeah.
just
No, you need to buy the service
architect.
contract with the platform.
No, I'm not doing that. I want to do this at 3 a.m. Okay.
No, folks, this is the kind of words of wisdom that you used to only be able to get when you're on Clubhouse listening to the Industry 4.0 Club.
Well,
And Yen hasn't said anything, so that's
Yeah.
I gotta
I was
jump.
waiting
I wanna
to jump in, but yeah.
Yeah, I want to say one thing. Up to this point, and I'm going to be dropping off, but up to this point, for our IoT community listeners, what we're trying to say here is 2025 is not the year of Gen AIoT. So, marketing teams, lay off of that crap. Okay, be responsible.
You know who you are. You know
Be
who you are.
responsible, or we are coming after your ass. Okay. All right, because that's what we do. And with that, gentlemen, and the data diva, Merry New Year.
Merry New Year.
Merry New Year. Merry New Year.
Hey, Leonard.
All right, see you
I
guys.
know. Go get on the train.
Hey.
Let me see how I get out of here.
Can't
Yeah.
leave. Can't
I wish he
Okay.
would leave.
I'm leaving.
He's just, he'll leave and then
Just
the whole
go
thing's
away.
gonna die.
Yeah.
leave.
I have a
There we
question.
Yeah.
Question. What do you guys think about? I read that Apple is going deeper in the smart home. Like they're doing cameras and different things like doorbells, stuff like that. I just want your thoughts on that.
They have a whole lot of people that are now not doing anything, so they got to find something to do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the HomeKit stuff. People never bought into the HomeKit stuff, and so they have to make it themselves. And obviously, they have the channel and the partners to do it. So I'm sure they've got somebody contract manufacturing this stuff and getting very low margin for it. And Apple's taking a huge.
But they killed the autonomous car project.
Yeah, the car thing. That's a bridge too far. But I think all this other.
They killed the project, and they had a whole lot of people
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, probably. Yeah, repurpose them.
here, and that's what they came up
I think
with.
it's a natural brand extension for Apple to sell doorbells and garage door openers. I'd buy a garage door opener from Apple. My Chamberlain.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
Of course
Yeah.
you would. You'd like to build a new Apple digital dashboard for your Volvo.
There
I
you
think-
go. Yeah.
I think Apple, instead of building cars, they should have built homes. They should build homes and then just smart home the entire home. That would have been more successful than them trying to build cars, I
They
think.
could do one of those Disney communities,
It's a good, it's a good
Isn't the autonomous car
Florida.
maker building homes? I heard something about a Tesla home, small, what they call it, mini home.
Cyber home.
Yeah.
The mini homes. Well, they're 3D printing homes too. I've seen a lot more of those are becoming popular too, like with cement and the wire. and
Apple's
stuff.
going to
That's where
say,
you are in Texas, I think.
Yeah, they have a whole neighborhood.
Apple's going to come out and say, you don't want those boring beige 3D printed homes. You want an Apple iHome that's fabulous. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to glow.
Translucent strawberry.
Siri.
Since strawberry.
It's going to glow. So,
Oh yeah, the glow. I like that update on the phone. The glow around.
Siri, and your home will glow, and things will happen. So
Glow.
enough of those 1990s beige, boring mini homes. Let's get something called.
No, I think they'll do a community in Florida and the Panhandle and call it Uptown or whatever.
First you get the iHome, and then you get the Air Home.
The air home.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we should create a TV show called Appletown.
Appletown. No. We
Why
could
don't
just
we use
Gen AI it
those Gen AI film tools to
with Sora.
create this
right?
movie? We'll use Sora to create a movie called Appletown.
That's good.
No, I definitely see Apple, like, if they can find a good margin business that's like they can leverage, their channel, and why not,
Yeah.
Because the HomeKit stuff, like, nobody's doing HomeKit stuff. And as you know, everyone here has tried to do smart home stuff. and it's such a pain to get even a light bulb to work, then it's like, heck with it. I mean, value is that it just works.
Didn't Tim Cook come out? I'm probably wrong about this. Like, you're right, shutting down the car thing, all this stuff. Didn't he kind of come out and say, you're not really going to expect any giant innovations from us like the iPhone, so we're going to make smart home ring doorbells. I don't know. It just seems like it was like I remember reading
it really lowered the bar.
He came out and said, "Don't expect any new big innovations from Apple."
Well, they've tried it with the Vision Pro, but it sounds like they got cold feet. It's like
look at the Quest. Oh,
a lot of the innovations, maybe some of the patents that they did with the car and with Vision Pro, I think that stuff will end up being sprinkled into whatever they do with smart homes some type of way.
Maybe
I don't think it's all for naught. I think they're gonna use that stuff.
Maybe Apple could have followed a 1999.com business model where they gave away the Apple Vision Pro for free or for $100 at a loss, since they're a multi-trillion-dollar company. And like all the .com companies, they said, but eventually those people will become paying people, and it'll just switch, and it's going to be great. When we do the hockey stick thing, I don't know. They could have sold it at a loss. Think about the Xbox. Woo!
PlayStation 2.
Yeah,
for many years before they got profitable on that. Absolutely. Just to get the box in your house, so they can sell you other stuff. But actually, the one reason why I brought up this Apple thing is they recently settled a case. And this is like hot off the press, where apparently Siri was listening to more than she was supposed to be listening to, and so of course they said there was no wrongdoing, but then they paid this settlement. I think it was like $95 million or something like that. But I mean, it just got me thinking when they say they're moving into smart homes, because this is like a huge problem with IoT, which is the retention of that data and people not really being aware of what those devices are doing. So it sparked my interest. So that's why I wanted to.
Well, also there's a market for multi-unit housing. There's a pretty big market. There's a lot of cool automation stuff out there for multi-unit housing and automating that. So townhomes and small apartment buildings and things like that. So that's an interesting, more vertical market than one at a time, kind of Home Depot end cap market.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see them go into more of that stuff too. I don't know.
Debbie, I thought that Apple was all about privacy and security.
But they can do it right, I think, because to the earlier point, the thing that most of all the home automation of home technology sucks right now. If you're not a techie, back to what Ryan was saying, it's extremely complicated to make it work. So, and if you remember, people who all used to say in the very beginning, oh, the iPod is just a poor MP3 player, they are late to the game, blah, 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 blah. What they did with the iPod that was unique is the ecosystem. So it was the combination of the iPod, iTunes, and the artists feeding the songs. So if they can crack that, because I do have a bunch of those home automation things at home, and the switches, they're not Apple made, and they suck. So they connect, they disconnect. So and I want different network for privacy, and I can't do it very easily. I need to have complicated routers and rules, and I can do it because I have the knowledge, but the average person cannot. So if they can translate the same idea of bringing the ecosystem together so it just freaking works.
But isn't that the idea behind the Matter standard, is to have that interoperability between smart home?
Yeah, but
I'm going to have iMatter instead.
Yeah, but it's
iMatter.
Yeah, it's interoperability for geeks. I mean, it's not interoperability for the rest of us. It still doesn't work very well out of the box. They have a QR code, but again, it's not reliable. Is the point?
I think that I was just thinking that, I was thinking of how Apple approached the market differently than Microsoft and all the PC manufacturers. They built the whole thing. Jobs even said that you've got to build the hardware and the software and own it all together and everything like that if you want it to be great, insanely great. And so it's really, the epiphany is happening. It's going to be an Apple town. It's going to be the iHome. Apple needs to build the whole house.
Yeah.
The whole home, the townhouse, the whatever, they drop it in there. It's already pre-done, all Apple stuff everywhere, TVs, smart, everything. Instead of the, onesie twosie, putting it together by people who don't know what they're doing and trying to use matter and antimatter and things like that. My home, Apple Town.
Although you bypass a lot of that when you have like these townhomes and multi-unit dwellings, and you have a professional installer do it for everybody. The problem is where it breaks down is when you have the Home Depot end cap and someone buys a doorbell and it doesn't work, and then that's where the ecosystem gets kind of dark. So.
Or when the person moves out or sells their unit, the previous owner still has access to that stuff.
That's permissions and transfer of ownership.
It's like logging into your Airbnb, logging into your Netflix account at the Airbnb, and then like forgetting that it's there.
We're going to see townhomes, multifamily dwellings, skyscraper condos, all built by Apple. Everything, just Apple.
You heard it here first.
It's wired in. It's seamless.
One thing that they said Steve Jobs was working on before he passed away, and man, I wish he was still here to do this, and that was he wanted to somehow put together this ecosystem so that people didn't have to go to all these different streaming services to watch stuff, right? So, for example, case in point, there was a show that a friend of mine told me about called The Agency, and it's on Paramount Plus. And I swear it took me like an hour to find where I had to go to get it, right? So Paramount Plus, you can get it on Stars, you can get it on it was just all over the place, right? So that to me is a huge problem. The fact that if you want to watch something, you have to go hunt all these different places to find it. And so that was something that he was trying to work on. But I wonder if their foray into the smart home will somehow dovetail into something like that. I don't know. I would love to.
I remember, like Microsoft tried to solve that with Xbox when they tried to aggregate all.
Yeah, but the problem is that it will never be solved for a very simple reason. For a very simple reason is the monetization. Because if you think about it, we went from cable TV with channels and advertising on all those channels to streaming services that aggregates, and now they are disaggregating again because they want to monetize. So it's the monetization issue that is not solved. Unless
disaggregating and then they're bundling. So
unless you have a way to directly go back to the artist and pay him, and then the pipe is free to get it to you, this is the only way to solve that problem.
Well, I think Apple TV, there's a search button on it though, and I think it searches.
It does some of it, but then what?
Xfinity does that too. Right? Xfinity will search across streaming services.
Yeah, but this is also corrupted by the business model, because it presents you things, and then when you click on it, say, "Oh, you have to subscribe to that or buy it." So
I wish that was more.
I want the button of those services, which is show me only what is free to me with no ad, and forget all the freaking rest.
Dimitri.
And they don't want that, because then it removes the monetization opportunity. So at the end of the day, it's always a monetization problem.
All you jailbreakers out there, jailbreak the Apple TV. We want the filter. We don't want to pay for button. That's count on the jailbreaking community to give us what Apple wants.
I think the greatest innovation of Apple TV is just the screensavers.
Love those. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. I've tried to Google them.
And then you go into Hong Kong, and it's gorgeous. That's like the best part of Apple TV. It is.
Yeah. I think the Dubai one's the overhead and the free, right? And the cars.
It's free. Right? You get that free.
Yeah.
So if you're okay with staring at screensavers like that, which are mesmerizing and pretty cool like Apple does, you're good to go, bro. So,
Yeah, just put a nice record on the vinyl that you bought yourself or on the cassette.
Or your cassette.
And watch.
Also speaking of cassettes and vinyl and everything, the CD here, I'm just making a big announcement for 2025 since I am the inventor of digital twins. I'm hereby decided to change the name of digital twins to Seals and Crofts.
Seals and Crofts' greatest hits.
Seals and Crofts is what we're going to call digital twins from now on. There you go, folks.
Sounds good.
Heard it here.
It's been decided.
I'm the decider.
I've
Breathe. That was
I like this.
By the way, on this topic, Rob, there's no real digital twins, but it's coming. Because twins, they are not the same identity. What we've been trying to do with digital twins for a couple of decades, you and I now almost, is take a physical system and create a digital artifact that represents it with high fidelity. That's what it was supposed to be. But that's not a twin. So now what's happening is that people are starting to say, well, I can take this digital twin, I can separate it from the physical, I can separate it from the analog twin, run some AI, and it lives on its own. So that becomes a real twin at this point. And if you wait for 5 years, that twin would have done something different than myself, for instance. So it's finally starting to happen. So that's why I've always said, and I had this conversation with Michael Greaves, and we disagreed on that because he was telling me, well, digital twin is, by the way, it's a metaphor because it is not a twin it is a digital self.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a semantic issue with the word.
They come up with a cool name.
But going back to reality and lies and things that don't exist,
pretty close.
Words are important. Words
Can we call it a digital clone? Can we call it digital?
It's a digital. It's a digital self. A clone is something different. It's a copy, and same thing. The copy will not behave the same way over time. So it's a digital self, if you want the right word.
Dimitri, do you think that's why my Japanese friends at Hitachi preferred the term asset avatar?
100%. 100%.
Like digital twin.
100%. Because culturally, they are much more accurate than we are. So I've always been, and the day I saw that, Rob, you can't be so right. The day I saw that, I said, damn, those guys are right. And I went to my boss and said, yeah. The same thing that Pete was saying. Dimitri, you totally troll, you do this, you do that, blah, blah, blah. We need to make money, blah, blah, blah.
So Dimitri, when are we going to get the intelligent digital twin that's going to be representing me in Teams meetings so I can go do something else?
Well, it depends what you want. Do you want really a digital self that represents you exactly? Or do you want something that's going to start making up things that you wouldn't necessarily do yourself?
Exactly.
Again, you want a digital self. You want something that does things on your behalf and react exactly like you. So the question would be, it's like the Turing test of the future. If I ask you a question and I ask your digital self the question, do I get the same answer?
Well, it's like you want a personal digital assistant or something.
A Palm Pilot?
Will those exist?
There you go.
By the way, I
do in 2025 PDA.
Going back to the original definition, you're talking something different. If you want a digital artifact to represent yourself, it's not a digital twin. Again, the digital twin concept was created to be able to represent something physical in the digital world with high precision. So you want it to be the exact same thing.
I think the AI note takers
will. Joking, but I have thought of the idea of having something that represents your general thoughts, so that you can have a visible AI representative of you that everybody knows is an AI, but they can ask it questions that says it would be approximate. This is what my thought would be, and so you can actually. I mean, think about all the times I'm triple and quadruple booked, but at least on those other 3 meetings I couldn't be. I could have a representative there that could, if they had a question, they could. And of course, I would want to know afterwards what the damn thing told them, right? But
I think the AI note takers are a couple of clicks away from that. But I've been experimenting with Otter and Fathom, and
if you train a model with enough of your personal own data, you will have a statistical approximation. It's like asking a friend, what would Jan say? And knowing you and having heard what you say, I think he might say that. Yeah, I think that's
we're a couple of clicks from
not far away.
Does it need to be visual though? I mean, I think one could be just like a chat, right? Like a GPT prompt, like in the meeting, like, what do you think, Jan Bot? I want to see that.
Totally. And don't make the very classic usual mistake that people do when they talk about digital twins, which is they only focus on the visualization or on the way you communicate with it. No. That's the least important thing.
Yeah, the interface is interchangeable. Yeah, I think people get hung up on that.
Back to Apple Home things.
Yeah.
What do you guys think is the viability of what they're trying to do? What I'm thinking here is that what they've done so far is they've kind of taken over the ecosystem and made it theirs for most of the stuff they've done. But when you're talking about the smart home, there are so many components. That's why Matter is there and other things, right? That if they try to create their own iMatter or whatever they're going to call it, and say everything has to be adaptable to that, I think they're going to fail.
I don't think they would do it that way.
Market, they got so much cash laying around, they're just going to build the whole thing all at once. Just like, wait for it. We had lots of MP3 players prior to the iPod. And you're right, we said the iPod was super late to the game, but what does Apple have that no one else has? They have this cultural thing. I don't want to say the word cult or anything, but people think it's cool. And that is more powerful than feeds and speeds any day.
Well, there's a brand promise there for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you there but that was just an iPod or an iPhone or something. But when you talk about the smart home, it's going to be cameras, locks. It's going to be sensors. It's going to be.
I think there's a finite.
So many different things, right? That they have to play nice in order to succeed. I think,
light bulbs.
Their typical way of working.
Yeah, but they have frankly, they have partners building that stuff already. And they could invest in those partners to have Apple branded versions using the Matter spec and just saying this is the reference, this is the working reference, and maybe there's a licensing deal for the third parties after that. But they already have partners that can build all that stuff.
I mean, Apple has succeeded in being able to, especially if you have their products, make their ecosystem work together. So the experience would probably be a lot better than what people have today, which is trying to cobble stuff together. So I think they have an advantage there, but it just depends on how deep they want to go into that home space.
What's the margin for them at the end of the day? What's the margin opportunity here?
Yeah. Well, and to the margin thing, why does Apple manufacture where they manufacture, right? And so when you order your new iHome to live in Appletown in northern Florida in the Panhandle, you're going to get to watch online as your iHome gets built by Foxconn in China, and hopefully we'll have a limited number of people trying to jump out of the windows and get caught by the nets, and stuff like that when they're
the iNets
out. Yeah. And then they'll build there and then they'll ship it in containers to the Estados Unidos. They'll go through the Panama Canal. Who knows who's going to own that? And then it's going to come up the other side of Florida to Appletown. And then they'll assemble it, final assembly and everything like that, and you'll have your iHome, and it's going to be amazing.
Did you guys see the Danish
tap your phone against the front door and click?
Did you guys see the Danish response to buying Greenland?
Buying Greenland from Denmark.
They're going to buy the U.S. instead because everything in the U.S. is for sale. Even buy it, except the government.
No, I think that's a great idea. I'd love to go to Denmark.
And if things goes the way it might be cheap to buy the US with a cryptocurrency because we're already in cryptocurrencies now. So
once you hack the crypto with quantum, then it's
I would take that thought very not rightfully. I would take it very seriously.
The Dogecoin is going to be the new U.S. government standard. I heard Dogecoin.
That's true. Susan B. Dogecoin.
My Dogecoin went to the roof, so I'm so happy.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I think this Apple ecosystem question. I think a lot of this software and hardware. I think it's for the past few years. It's been a really relevant discussion because I think nowadays in the industrial side, I'm seeing more people asking about hardware. They're saying, "Hey, I tried running this predictive maintenance solution on the edge because now we have all these software platforms. You have plenty of options to run AI on the edge now, but I don't see a lot of hardware solutions that are either reasonably priced. So you always have the NVIDIA GPU powered option, but I haven't been too happy with all the OEMs that have integrated the NVIDIA GPUs. And I think,
I think there's probably an over integration from edge manufacturers on NVIDIA because there are so many other alternatives with Qualcomm Snapdragons and NXPs and more and more stuff that you could run AI models on. So I think that'll actually be interesting in 2025, 2026. I think we'll see more options. Like if you go to Advantech right now and say, I want to run a GenAI, a small language model on the edge. What kind of gateways do you have? Really they have kind of big NVIDIA ones that are great, but they're expensive. They're $5,000 and they run a lot of heat. I think a year from now, you'll see options that are $1,000 or less. And they'll be running, ARM-based silicon from other parties too, and there'll be more options out there. But so it's coming. But I think the starting point is like, well, let's take an NVIDIA chip because that's what's in the cloud, and let's stuff it into a box.
Yeah, and I think it's also an architectural issue because I do believe that we're going to see a separation between hardware that runs the model and hardware that trains the model, which we don't really have. It's one same thing because now manufacturing is going to be tricky because there are use cases where you want actually both capabilities. You want to be able to not only run the model, but you also want to be able to train it on the machine itself. So what is the architecture? Do you do that centrally and deploy it, or do you do it on the same?
Well, I think you'll see the original training happening on very high performance cloud-based stuff, but then you'll see reinforcement learning or continuous learning happening on the edge. And that'll become
that's probably one.
When does that report back? That's always my question, right? Because you have like this big trained model on a heap of data set, then you have your local edge that's training. When do you?
That's a good MLOps question. Is like, how do you?
That's the architectural. Cloud? That's the architectural issue that needs to be solved, and we're not very good at that doing that up front as an industry. But yeah, you're pointing out on the issues there. So that was actually amazingly enough, Rob. I don't know if you had the same experience at Hitachi, but when I was at GE, I was actually trying to force conversation about that. Is what is the cycle? What is the life cycle? How does that work? How do I train a model with an initial data set, run it on an edge, collect more data, feed that back, and retrain how does that whole loop works, and how is it safely done?
That's the MLOps question. That's why there's MLOps companies out there now making some good money on solving that. This idea.
We put the word on the end of everything.
Well, that's a problem. It's filtering through that noise.
You're outdated. Not MLOps. It's AI ops.
AI ops, ML ops.
AI ops.
Because, as Pete would tell you, you don't want to end up on the ash heap of history calling yourself ML something.
Exactly. By the way, it's going to become agent ops soon.
Agent ops at scale.
Right.
All the information in my algorithm right now is still stuck on what is predictive maintenance? What is AI? What is, Gen AI? But I want to see more of the ML ops, right? Like how I want to execute this, right? I want to run an open CV. I want to verify. I want hardware. I want sample architecture for hardware with software. I want the tech stack. I haven't seen, and there's a lot of customers that are calling us right now and they're saying, hey, I want to run a machine vision solution in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
How do I do that? And I'm just like, that's a good question.
Yeah. Ryan, you're going to be really happy. You're going to be really happy. Another announcement, hot on the heels of Appletown and the iHome and the new Seals and Crofts digital twin announcement this year. We are now also announcing iFactory. Apple looked at all these industrial IoT platform companies and all the sensor makers and all that, and they said, you know what, it's just a giant fragmented market like MP3 players. We're just going to take over the whole thing. And so now it's going to be iFactory, and Apple's just going to lock in. The little edge thing you're talking about, it's a little Apple M4 cube thing.
Yeah, so I would buy it, Rob. That's a crazy part. Every Apple user experience, buy your Apple Watch, right? You take it out of the box, you power it out. It's got like this weird, like globe, like spinny thing that's moving. It's like, scan this, right?
By the way,
it works.
Rob is just joking.
No, he's not. Please don't. I want the iFactory. Don't take it away. But seriously, I think we've
you announced it here, and it's going to happen.
Could you imagine what Rockwell would do if they found out that Apple was going to simplify the UI and the user experience in the factory? I would be panicking if I were Rockwell. Their components
right now
look like they're from the 80s.
Right
now,
to
pick on Rockwell, you could say all of them, right? Siemens.
Leadership from Rockwell, Siemens, all of them, they're on the phone right now with Tim Cook, hoping to get acquired by Apple before they get destroyed by Apple. That's what's happening in the background. I can hear the phone ringing.
Like, think about that onboarding Apple user experience. They make it very simple. They make it very pretty. You pay for that experience, but I don't see anyone who does that well in the industrial space. And even if you see big companies like Rockwell, GE, all these even if they buy these little pretty software companies, they don't integrate it into their entire ecosystem. You want pretty? You want pretty? Here, we have a pretty, subsection of our product over here that you can pay a lot for, but it's not going to integrate with the rest of the ecosystem as well. I want Apple to take charge.
Ryan, the problem with that to me is the similar problem. The reason why there is no standardized IoT platform that emerged is because if you look at industrial use cases, they are fundamentally system integration projects. Yeah. They're not out of the box. You don't buy, I always say that, I was saying that at G as well. You don't go on Amazon and buy an oil rig. You buy a bunch of parts and you spend billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars with engineers to assemble them together to deliver whatever you have to do. Mm. And this is why the importance of the platforms and the components is not high enough to make it a compelling reason to standardize, because people make money by the service assembly component. They don't make money with the hardware.
Well, there's people that go up the stack. You can only standardize so much, and then you need to.
And I insist on that because to me, this is the fundamental reason we've been talking about IoT and industrial IoT for now decades. Yeah. And it doesn't materialize as a scalable software platform because it's just a very little component of the whole problem.
How much of that goes away? How much of that goes away, Dimitri, if Apple buys Ignition or Apple buys a mature IoT platform with the drivers and the connectors and everything in the factory? That still exists?
No, I'm cool with Apple with doorbells, but not with the
factory.
I've seen it proven, but I haven't seen it happen yet. I haven't been proven.
I know. Remember what you read from Peter Thiel in 0 to 1? You have to go to strive to be a monopoly. And then
but the
government, so they can't break you up.
I get the monopoly, but industrial as a monopoly is a much bigger use case. Because again,
we're going to solve it today.
The system integrators have little incentive to use a standardized platform because the competitors can do it.
That's true.
No, but this is not more that it is really the problem. I mean, I've been trying for 10 years. It doesn't work in this industry because it's fundamentally an engineering system integration element and there is standardization.
Great. So hot on the heels of Appletown and iHome and the new digital twin Seals and Crofts and now iFactory that I just invented today, I'm making an addition to IoT. I'm going to put the letter I in front of the other I in IoT. Just like the iHome, it's going to be called IoT, and that's going to sit in an Apple way.
IoT.
We tried that already, Rob.
You walk in there, you're going to see the Apple Watch mesmerizing thing going doo-doo-doo, and it all it's going to integrate, and it's all just going to work, and you're going to be so happy.
But to your point, Rob, it could work for home, I believe, because it is a narrow. For
home users, totally.
It could work for that. But the whole industrial gizmo?
No. The only thing that's going to unify the edge and IoT is going to be the cloud, frankly. So the cloud DevOps, the cloud orchestration, the cloud, all the way to the far edge. And that's the only unifying principle, I think, that's going to make all this stuff work together. So
yeah, you got to have something that's your Rosetta Stone translating all this. That's it. All this
not from the edge to the cloud, it's from the cloud to the edge.
Remember one thing that I shared on this show, a couple of times, that was told me one day by a Gartner analyst about, standardization, those kind of things.
Not IDC.
Take the most simple use case in world commerce, which is a purchase order or an invoice. Yeah. There is no worldwide global common standards of metadata to exchange an invoice. Yeah. We haven't solved that. So try to solve all the kind of things you talked about today. Talking about maybe some problems to solve. That's a simple problem to solve. There is no single unified digital
QuickBooks
or an order.
It's just like we've heard about the whole jobs to be done thing, right? Yeah. And then we turn that. I'm creating now the Steve Jobs to be done.
And that's Steve Jobs to be done.
Steve Jobs has to be done. And so that's
Steve Jobs.
SJTV.
I tell you, this has been an amazing intro to 2025. I can't believe the brain power
so many problems to solve
and have been solved today. And we've envisioned the future. I mean, can you imagine what it's going to be like when we wake up a year from now on 2026? We'll all be living in a compound in Appletown. It's going to be crazy. Yeah. John and Brian will be going to their iFactory. They'll walk in there and there'll be this like
he'll put on his smock with a little Apple logo on it.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Pull the lever and,
I'll be going to my new house in Denmark or Iceland or maybe
Greenland.
All the machine controls are going to be Touch ID, Face ID, Touch ID, everything.
You guys are far too optimistic. We'll be stuck in our iHomes and our digital twins will be outside having fun.
That's true.
If you're lucky, you'll be in your iPod, which is actually like the Matrix.
Yes. I sell. I sell.
Exactly. So thanks, everyone, for joining us on IoT Coffee Talk as we kick off.
See folks at CES, by the way.
Yeah, we'll see you at CES.
Oh, yeah. I expect full report. I won't be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
At CES,
Full report.
Yes, we're looking forward to a great year of exciting nonsense and vision coming from the show. And, we'll see you every week. And definitely don't forget to help elevate our kids' charity so we can bridge that digital divide. We're not just talking, we actually do it.
There you go.
So,
get your hoodies.
You might need a special hoodie. I've heard they're coming out with that next week. So anyway, stand by. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.